top 10 HR AI use cases today. Take a look at this list. It also looks at the business impact and the adoption level. Again, as I mentioned to you, I used all AI to build this presentation and these charts, and with the prompts that I wanted to see and be able to help provide high value for the conversation today. So you can see business impact, but more importantly, even also adoption level. Some of the topics here we heard in your list, but also too in the overall top 10 trends. But what you might see here is a little bit different. You're seeing more isolated topics versus end-to-end, right? So it's important to think through when you're looking at your broader topics, kind of your strategy topics, and then what are the use cases that tree up or will be defined underneath each one of those broader topics. So it's a good way to look at this to say, here are use cases, but again, how is it treeing up to your overall, your trends or your strategy topics? That's really important. Because attrition prediction, let's use that. That could be some low-hanging fruit, could have high business impact. Adoptions, medium, it's decent. The question would be is, what are you trying to drive with it? What else does it link to? How are you going to impact that from an overall business perspective? What will you do with it when you have it? That's pretty key. And then also too, take a look at some of these other ones that are very high. Skill gap analysis. You see, this is some of the drivers of where do you want to focus and where do you start? And more importantly, how is it linked to other areas so that's more end-to-end and understood across the board? Next slide.
A question here. You know, the difference between business impact and adoption level. You know, you've got candidate chatbots, resume screening as being the highest on the adoption level. Is that because they're quote unquote, you know, maybe the easiest to do, or you know, it looks like some of the very highs are lower on the adoption level than some of the things that don't have quite as much impact?
Yeah, I think I would answer that. It's a good call out. I'd answer that in a couple of different ways. You're going to see where leaders probably have more appetite for things. So if you go beyond just HR, and employees and leaders are going to look at it, they're going to care about some of these things differently. And so those very high ones, such as resume screening, and chatbots, is that maybe that's how they're engaging more, and that's where they're going to get the most bang for their adoption, because they're driving that through the organization, and it impacts the broader organization more than some of these other ones. So resume screening, it'd only be for those managers that have it, or let's say some of the medium ones, sentiment analysis, performance insights, that's stuff that's used by HR, not maybe for all, potentially. That could be my best guess on that one.
Great. Thank you.
Good call out.